I just want to talk about basically my honest review of Tufts. So first we can talk about the campus. So I'm sure everyone knows Tufts is outside of Boston. What does that actually mean logistically? Well, there's two T stops, and the T is like our version of like the metro. There's two T stops. Yeah, there's one on campus. It's the Green Line, and then there's one in Davis Square, which is the red line, and you can relatively easily take either of those stops to go into Boston. The issue is the T is just so slow, and that's just a Boston thing. So do I go into Boston that often? I think I've started going more often now that I'm off campus because there is a lot of things to do on campus. But it is great because you can have a pretty decent sized job market in this area. Okay, the campus itself, I would say the campus itself is not very nice. I think among everyone I've talked to, like everyone agrees with me. For example, there's potholes in like all the roads. It's very small, so we don't have like a lot of variety, especially for things like we only have one gym on campus and it's one floor of a gym. It's the smallest gym I've ever heard of. The buildings are not like new, although there is going to be new buildings as I leave, and we did get a new building, the Joyce Cummings Center, but as of my experience, they're all very old, very run down. I've seen cockroaches in my lectures. It's disgusting, frankly. The dorms and the dining halls are also not the best, but they're not that bad. I mean, it's dorm life. It's not going to be luxurious. And then like I don't know. My friend lived in Metcalf, which is a freshman dorm, and she said they had like a rat problem. I heard like in Carm, another freshman dorm, like there's a cockroach problem. Like very scary. But like kind of like one-off cases, like oh, like one person in the entire dorm has this problem, which is really unfortunate for that one person. But for the majority, I think everything will be okay. Dining halls, we used to have pretty good food, so I've heard from upperclassmen, but as of now, it's not that good. It's not like inedible, but like it's totally like mid. Oh, and then we are on a hill, and that could be a huge consideration because we're not very accessible. So maybe like you could drive yourself around, but like you will have to walk up and down a hill like multiple times a day. Okay, moving on to community. I would say on average, and especially with my friends that I talk to, the community is the best part of Tufts. It's so collaborative here. And you really don't feel a sense of competition from your peers. But the thing is, like, everyone here is so smart. And I think Tufts as a school kind of curates a vibe where everyone is really smart. Everyone definitely cares about, like, what they're doing in life. They just are low key about it. Like, all my friends, like, I don't really share a major with my close friends. So I, like, have no idea really how their academics are going. And then suddenly, like, they're just, like, getting into these, like, Ivy League grad schools and like fellowships or whatever, and I'm just like, wow, I didn't know you were built like that because you never like bring it up in that way. That's not to say like people aren't like stressed or like they don't care. Like they do care. They're just not like competitive about it. I think like it kind of goes hand in hand, but like everyone at Tufts is really friendly, and like for the most part like so willing to like just meet new people. It's not like you like meet your friend group in freshman year and then you literally don't talk to anyone else. It's like you meet your friend group in freshman year, you know, sophomore year comes, you start meeting different people in different classes, like everything's like always like expanding, like your circle is always sort of expanding a little bit. And then like because the campus is so small as well, like I feel like you're constantly running into people as you're just walking to classes and stuff. And my friend loves this. She's always like, hi, hi, hi. Clubs, I would say, are a pretty big part of Tufts. Yeah, I would say like if you go to Tufts, it would be really beneficial to join a club because it's a bunch of people who are interested in the same stuff as you. And I guess like the people who join a club generally are just like hardworking and they want to make what they love even better. Like everyone I know is in a club in some way, or like maybe they're not on like an e-board, but so Greek life on campus is really, really minimal. And honestly, the university has been like trying to shut it down throughout my time at Tufts. Um, there are 5 frats and I think 3 sororities on campus. And of the 5 frats, so frats are the only ones allowed to throw parties. Of the frats, I think only 2, now 3, can throw. At one point, all 3 of the frats were under like probation, and that just means like for some number of months they can't have any outside events because all the frats got on probation a few years ago, and then now this at the end of this year they're getting off probation. Like Greek life is just not a thing here at all. So if you're looking for Greek life, like if that's really important to you, do not go to Tufts. It will be so disappointing. But on the other hand, like I was not looking for Greek life in particular, and I think it's great because everything is so chill here. It's like very easy to get into parties. Um, like people in your classes or like people that you like meet, they will be involved in Greek life, and you won't even know it. As for sororities, I've only been to one sorority event because my friend was in it, and like it was okay. I'm just like not part of that group, and I don't really like to like be in a big group where you're just constantly having to meet people. Yeah, I know people who are in it and they're totally nice and stuff. So okay, now we can talk about social life. Having talked about all those other things, I would say the main form of social life is gonna be on campus events through clubs. So a lot of clubs will host various parties, formals, just like random events. So I'd say like that's the most structured party culture that we have. And then like of course the frats will also throw. Just there's way less of them than there are clubs. If you're a freshman, you're like looking for a party to like go to. Okay, you could try the frat. It's as a freshman, it would be unlikely that they would let you in. So then I would personally like find some sort of club party that one of you or your friends is associated with, and you can get in that way. And the clubs are a lot more open; they're not exclusive, really. Or as a sophomore as well, you start to like you and your friends, like your circle, you guys move into these dorms, which are more apartment style, and they have like a living room, and then you'll have like house parties. But anyways, besides parties, there's also lots of events held, especially at the end of the semester. That's when a lot of people have their showcases. So like, I just saw like 3 back to back, actually like 4. There's gonna be like 4 back to back like dance club showcases on the weekends, and you just get tickets for that online. So there's really not a huge reason to go into Boston just because of all the different events that happen on campus. There's also like a club specifically dedicated to running events for students, and they have some good stuff like every few weekends. They just have like a bigger budget, so it takes like longer to plan. Yeah, let's move on. Academics. I think it's mostly up to you, like no matter where you go, like how hard you push yourself. But I'll obviously still speak on academics. So, okay, I'm a computer science major. I can only really speak on that. The difficulty of the classes totally varies, but I would say like the hardest class was still manageable. If you got into Tufts, I assume like you have Tufts's basic requirements for academic rigorousness. So I think you'll be in the same boat. Yeah, I mean, it's like a workload thing as well. Like you just have to learn how to manage your time, and like if you're taking a bunch of like medium difficult classes, like that's gonna end up being really stressful for you anyways, just because every class has, um, you know, 20 assignments, like 2.5 exams, probably like at least a project or so. And then like, having like 3 of those classes that are like that obviously adds up to like 60 assignments, whatever. So just be careful like managing your schedule in that way and everything's gonna be fine. Yeah, classes are for the most part fine. But if you do find yourself really needing help in some way, I already mentioned this briefly, but classmates are a great resource. A lot of the times people are so willing to work with you. I just remember being as a freshman like so relieved that like people were nice here. They do have like academic resources called like the Star Center, I think, which is where you can go to get like tutoring and different things. And I do know a handful of people who are tutors, so they're just basically like your classmates, but they're being paid to tutor you. So that's cool. I've never personally used one because like my classmates, I've been so lucky. My classmates have all been so kind and collaborative. But if you're feeling like you need a professional, like someone who's been vetted, check that out, I guess. And then you can also go to TAs, so teachers assistants. These are people that like did really well in the class like a semester or two before you, and the professor is like, hey, like I'll take you on and you can like tutor students. So basically like the resource center that I just talked about, but they work directly with the professor to grade things as well. Especially for the CS department, the TAs are so helpful. Yeah, I guess like that would really contribute to the difficulty of classes. Like you're really not alone at all unless you choose to be for some reason. I would not recommend that. There are a variety of classes available on like the course registration. I haven't taken a majority of them for obvious reasons. There's too many. I have taken a few random interesting ones, but like I'm gonna talk about my major requirements. I would say the major requirements for me have been a moderate level of interesting, sometimes very boring, and that's usually due to the professor, sometimes very interesting. There's going to be a handful of professors that teach either like a huge like seminar class or like gen ed requirement class, and you're just going to have like no relationship with them whatsoever because they're talking to a room of like 200 people twice a week. And then there's going to be professors that are like in your major and you're going to have them for multiple classes and they're kind of going to get to know you in your face. And then there's going to be professors where you're in like a really small class. These are usually like my art classes, actually. You're in a really small class and it's just a good time. I do know a lot of people who wanted to go into academia after undergrad and they would really focus on like chatting it up with the professors. I didn't want to do that and I don't like to like network, so I never did that. But if you're an outgoing person, like you can just go to a professor's office hours and be like, hey, do you have a minute to talk about blank? But I did focus really hard on going into industry, so I can totally talk about that, and I'm actually going to have another video talking about my journey with that. So for like job readiness and resources, I would just say like the job readiness part depends on yourself a lot. And I don't know if this is the same for other colleges, but at Tufts basically you can get taught all the basic material, but you have to take it upon yourself to take it into this specific area. And so for me that's like software engineering. So that means like spending a lot of time on leak code, spending a lot of time learning like what the interview process is, like spending a lot of time on my resume. I know that they have like some resume workshops and stuff. I never had time to go to them. They were like during my classes. So I just did it myself and it ended up being fine. The alumni network is very weak here. There were no alumni dinners or anything. I ended up meeting an alumni at my internship last summer and he was talking about like wanting to try and revive it. And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. I mean, I'm graduating, so it doesn't affect me as much. Like, I am going to be an alumni, but if he ends up reviving it, then that's great for all of you. But as of now, never contacted, never heard from, never saw a single alumni. And then the last thing I'll mention is Tufts has a cross consortium with Boston University, Boston College, and Brandeis, and some MIT classes. So that means that you can register to any classes at these schools, except MIT, I think, is only women and gender studies. So I'll just talk about BU, BC, and Brandeis. You can register for any of their classes as a Tufts student, and you won't have to like pay extra. You'll pay like your normal Tufts tuition. Then you can go to these schools and take these classes. So in freshman year, I took Korean 1 and 2 at Brandeis because the language class was online for me. But then when COVID like started to pull back, the class became offline again, so I couldn't commute to Brandeis, so I stopped taking that. But then this past semester, I was taking Korean 3 at BU. I ended up dropping that as well. In concept, this is a great idea because like we don't even offer Korean, for example, at Tufts. But the issue is these schools are really far from Tufts. So unless you're like you have a ton of time to commute, or you have a car, it's logistically very difficult. Next is athletics. We're a D3 school, so athletics is not really the focus for a lot of people. Like even the athletes, like sure they're dedicated to their craft, but they're also like here to get a degree, not to go pro. My friend was used to be on the varsity rowing team, but she quit because, I mean, among other reasons. But one of the things was she had to wake up at like 5 a.m. every day and bike to the Mystic River. I know like we have like various other like sports that also just have to practice off campus. Like we just don't have any fields or facilities for some of these niche sports to practice on. You can try out for a club team, and this is to varying levels of difficulty. It honestly depends on the size. So like the women's club soccer team, there's only one of them, so it was pretty competitive. The club sports are like pretty rigorous too. Like you have a budget, you have games that you travel to and fro, you can go to like regionals and stuff. School spirit, we are kind of lacking, and this is actually something that I think like irks some people. Like you don't see people going around wearing like their Tufts merch necessarily, and like the games that we have on campus don't have a big turnout at all. Yeah, I would just say like athletics is a really small part of the Tufts like experience, kind of like in a similar way to Greek life. So if you're looking for those two, do not go to Tufts. So I'm just gonna wrap up with like a conclusion of everything I've said. Campus, definitely like the worst aspect of Tufts. I just think like it could just be so much nicer, and it's sometimes quite gross. But I would say, does this actually matter in the grand scheme of things? No. So even though it's the worst aspect of Tufts, probably the one that matters the least as well. Oh, so maybe I'll rate it like a 2 out of 5, but like importance, I would say 1 out of 5. So not important at all. Community, I would say I would give this a 5 out of 5, and I would say importance, I would also say a 5 out of 5. And then academics, I'll give like a 3.5 out of 5. I'll round it up to a 4 out of 5. And I would say importance, also 4 out of 5. And then athletics, I want to give it a 2 out of 5, but I feel like since I gave campus a 2 out of 5, I have to give it a 3 out of 5. Let me change everything. Campus, 1 out of 5, and 1 out of 5. Athletics, 2 out of 5 for itself, and 3 out of 5 importance. So that was my breakdown. That was my honest review of Tufts. I hope it was so helpful, and I wish everyone who is going to college soon good luck. If you have questions or like you wish I had talked about something, just comment them down below and I'll just respond to your comment. And also keep a lookout for videos on how my like career journey went. I will be uploading that soon, and then I'll also upload my last vlog of Tufts. So sad. But thank you all for watching. I gotta go.